Welcome to the Louie File. You know, I thought I would share a little piece of my testimony today on the Louie File. You know, when someone gets saved, someone gets born again, certain things in their life get cleaned up right away. For me, I had a very foul mouth. Thankfully, that was not a struggle with me though. After I was born again, that language disappeared. I mean, I woke up the morning after being born again and I just wasn't using that language anymore. In fact, it sounded weird to me, strange to me, when a coworker of mine was using foul language. All of a sudden, it didn't sound good. It didn't sound right. So that wasn't a struggle for me. But you know, I smoked cigarettes. Of course, I come from an alcohol and drug addiction background, so I smoked cigarettes and smoked other stuff too, right? So I'd already kind of pulled out of the alcohol scene, and I'd been on methadone, and at this point when I was born again, I was about a little over a year, close to a year and a half into this methadone program. Well, so I got born again. And the language cleared up right away. I started reading the Bible, you know, and I started seeing and understanding things that God was saying more and more clearly, and I still smoked cigarettes. I asked an associate pastor of mine at the time about smoking. I said, man, I really wish I could quit smoking. And he gave me some wise advice, or I thought he said something, looking back on it, was probably the best thing. He said, Louie, don't worry about it. It'll happen. He understood not to give me some rule or law or condemn me for it. He knew that I needed freedom. Freedom is the way that you get set free. It's not through caging someone up. But I don't want to get too far off of my story here. You know, the night I was born again, basically what I had prayed was I prayed that God would show Tracy, my wife, that I meant business, that I was really wanting my life to change and do the right thing. So I basically just handed it over to him, and I had a hands-off approach. I said, God, you have to do it. That night I was radically born again. 6 years, yeah, I think it was about 6 years later, I had a similar moment when I had made the decision to quit smoking. Now, my decision to quit smoking did not come about because I was diagnosed with any health problems. It wasn't because I felt like someone was telling me, like God or somebody was telling me that a Christian shouldn't smoke, or it was a sin, or any of that. It simply came about because I started to do the math. You know, when I quit smoking cigarettes, a carton of the kind of cigarettes I smoked was about $25 a carton. So you figure a carton, or a little more than a carton per week, $25 to $30 a week. So let's just call it $100 a month. Well, for 12 months out of the year, that's $1,200 a year. So I realized, and it dawned on me, the insanity of lighting $1,200 a year on fire. I mean, I just as well could have piled $1,200 into a grill somewhere or in a can outside and set it on fire. Because smoking cigarettes is literally setting that money on fire. And I thought, wait a minute, I just don't think I want to set that amount of money on fire anymore. And I was looking, I had a house payment, and I was thinking, well, I know what, I'll quit smoking, and I will take this $100 a month that I was using to buy cigarettes, and I will put it on my mortgage, and I will pay my house off faster. So I had a plan. But on the night that I smoked my last cigarette, I sat out back on my steps and I smoked my last cigarette, and me and my wife came in the house and sat on the bed in the bedroom, and we prayed. And my prayer was basically this. I said, God, you and I both know that I can't quit smoking. And then I said something that might sound a little shocking to some, but I said, God, and you know what? I'm not even going to try. I just told him, I said, I can't do it, and you know I can't do it, so if you don't do this, I'm not going to quit. Because you see, after I was born again, and I realized that being born again meant that I give up, I take my hands off of a life that is really His to begin with. And I stopped trying to live it, and I stopped trying to direct it, and I stopped trying to be in control of it. And that's the key. That's the key right there, is that we think that we have control of something, and we have to relinquish it. We have to give it up. And with the cigarettes that night, I told God, you're going to have to do it, or I'm not even going to quit. I'm not going to try to quit. Now, mind you, I did use a nicotine patch, and I did that for a couple of weeks, and it helped take the edge off, and it wasn't easy for me to quit smoking. But you know, I stayed in the Word just like before, and I just kept trusting every day it was going to get easier and easier. And that was over 8 years ago while I'm recording this video. So I've been smoke-free for all that time. I was telling this story the other night in jail, and a man sitting up front said, "Wow, that's $9,600 that you've saved in the last 8 years." He did the math real fast, and he just grinned ear to ear, and I said, "That's exactly right. Almost 10 grand in the last 8 years that I didn't light on fire." So I just wanted to share this. Not only can God deliver you from addictions, but He can save you a lot of money in the process. So think about that the next time you light up a cigarette. The Comforter, the Holy Spirit, can comfort you, and He can help you, pull you through any kind of addiction, any kind of bondage you might have. Just cry out to God and tell Him He's got to do it. Tell Him you can't do it. He already knows it. All right, I'll talk to you next time.